There is something I think we've all started to notice within the gun community. As our culture has shifted in the right direction towards owning more equipment, we all get inundated with tons of new, cool products. I've seen too many people fall victim to buying the next big thing and not being more selective with their purchases. While what you buy isn't any of my business, and this isn't a lesson on personal finances, here are two of the biggest reasons I think you should remember to be happy with the gear you have already. So before we continue, I just want to clarify, I'm not saying that you shouldn't own more gear. I think it's a good thing that we're moving in that direction. I'm just saying that with all the different hype and all those different products coming out, you should really stop to think and evaluate objectively, do I really need this, or do I just think it's really cool, or is it like more of an impulse buy instead? So for example, do you need to have 3 sets of level 4 ceramic body armor plates, or do you need to have that 12th Glock so you can add to your summer carry rotation? Or do you just want it because, again, it's an impulse buy or you think the newest one looks really cool? That's really all that I'm trying to get across. It's worth remembering that you shouldn't be unsatisfied with whatever equipment or gun you have now, and while you should be aware of the latest developments and realize that certain gear will help you, at the end of the day, you can't buy your way into being a better shooter. Okay, so the first reason you should be happy with the gear you have now is because practicing with only essential equipment helps you focus on the fundamentals of shooting. Generally, having only basic equipment forces you to have a more solid grasp of the foundations of shooting, when some of that gear might end up doing the work for you. Now, this isn't necessarily a bad thing, but especially if you're starting out, you want to make sure you have that solid foundation. Don't have some super fancy range to run around at, more of an opportunity to practice static shooting and just the basics. Only have iron sights? While I do think everyone should have at least one quality red dot, if you don't, it means you gotta focus on sight alignment. No flared magwell or don't have that $130 extended magazine, then you gotta practice reloads. While there is definitely a cool factor to all this stuff, which I have fallen victim to as well, you don't need to have it to have a good and productive time shooting. Less equipment also means fewer things to be distracted by when you're at the range. Rather than oozing over that new helmet and spending all that time taking pictures with it, you simply have more of an opportunity to focus your efforts on shooting. And while this really is the key to everything here, this first reason, I also do have a second reason which I think is worth mentioning, which is that you'll appreciate better equipment much more when you've had to endure without it. When I first started shooting, I had cheaper equipment on my M4, such as the sights, the lights, and not having a grip, and then I finally got a red dot, a new flashlight that was more durable, and so on and so forth. I almost felt this pride of ownership in a sense that I had earned it after I had practiced long enough and finally started to purchase these attachments. It had almost been like I had graduated or hit some kind of personal breakthrough, or it was like some kind of small rite of passage. The same goes for my range belt as well. When I first started shooting, I just used a regular flimsy belt and a holster that I wasn't particularly fond of, but it's what I had at the time. I practiced until I felt I had outgrown it, then moved to an actual range belt. Having it is really convenient, but it's also been an investment in my training and an opportunity to learn new skills that are inherent with using such a belt. Now, every time I look at my guns or equipment or how used they are, it's almost like we've been on some kind of journey together. While this does mean I actually did buy more equipment, obviously, my point is that I was selective with my choices and the reasonings behind them, as opposed to just indulging in some impulse purchases on things I knew I'd never really use. And while the second point doesn't really have as much practical value or utility, it's an appeal to emotion which I still think that many of us fellow shooters can still relate to. So at the end of the day, what you do with your hard-earned cash is your own business and definitely not mine. We also all deserve the right to splurge every now and then, but it's worth remembering not to get sucked into buying every new product or feeling poor for not owning that $40,000 piece of night vision. Be happy with what you have now, stay aware of the newest developments that are out there in the marketplace, and if you truly think having that next thing will have a practical benefit for you, then have at it. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.